Alright, so let's add to our table of contents. Our next title we're going to look at is absolute value. So absolute value is the distance a number is from zero. So if we were to look at a number line, and I said, what's the absolute value of 3? Well, 3 is 3 away from 0. And if we were to look at the absolute value of a negative 2, look at the point there, how far is it from 0? Well, it's 2 away. And so absolute value is always going to be positive. And the reason that is if you think about if you were driving in a car and you were to go from home to work or from home to school and you went 10 miles and then you were to go back from school to home, you wouldn't say you went negative 10 miles. And so when we look at distance is always going to be, or most of the time is going to be measured as a positive number. So let's look at some examples. So the absolute value of 18 is just positive 18. Try 1B on your own. Number 2, the absolute value of negative 13. So the absolute value of negative 13 would be positive 13. Again, notice that our answer is positive. Try 2B on your own. So now we're going to evaluate an expression with absolute value. And so you kind of treat the absolute value bars like parentheses and you do those first. So I'm just going to rewrite 5 minus. And so now the absolute value of negative 6 is just 6. And 5 minus 6 equals negative 1. So go ahead and try 3B on your own. Absolute value of 6 minus the absolute value of negative 4. Now we're going to look at solving an equation. So we're going to have an x inside the absolute value. So we have 2x plus 3 is equal to 7. And the way this works is if I gave you a blank, so there's nothing inside the absolute value bars, and I said I want our answer to be 7, what numbers could you plug in there? Well, you could put a 7 in, because the absolute value of 7 is 7. But you could also plug in a negative 7, because the absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7. So we have two possibilities. So this inside can equal two different things. It can equal a positive 7, or it can equal a negative 7. So we just have these two equations that we have to solve. So I minus 3 from both sides. And we get 2x equals 4. Divide by 2. And I get x equals 2. So there's one answer. Now we solve the second equation. Minus 3. And so we get 2x equals, so when you have a negative and a negative, it's going to stay negative. When they're the same signs, you add, so you get 10. So when they have the same sign, you need to add and keep the sign. Now we divide by 2. And we get x equals a negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So if you were to take that negative 5 and plug it back in, you would equal positive 7. Same thing with the 2. So try 4b on your own. The absolute value of 2x minus 1 is equal to 5. All right, number 5, we're going to look at solving with a greater than sign. And so it's kind of like when we solve with an equation. We're just going to break it up into 2 problems. And so we get 3x minus 1 is greater than 8. So I didn't change anything. And then a 3x minus 1. But now I change the greater than to a less than. And then I make that 8 a negative. So I just rewrote it. Nothing changed the first time. Second time I rewrote the 3x minus 1, but then I changed it to less than and then negative 8. So now we just solve these. We add 1. And we get 3x is greater than 9. Divide by 3. And we get x is greater than 3. Or, and we solve the other one, add 1. And we get 3x is less than negative 7. Divide by 3. And 3 can't go into 7, so you just leave it like that. X is less than negative 7/3. Now something else to notice is here we had a minus 1, and when I rewrote it, it stayed a minus 1. So what's inside the parentheses or the absolute value bars, those signs don't change. The number on the outside, this was a positive, stayed positive, but here this changed to a negative 8. Alright, so let's try 5b on your own. Absolute value of 2x minus 5 is greater than or equal to a positive 7. Alright, number 6, our last example. Now notice we have a less than, and so when we have a less than, we rewrite the expression. Nothing's changed. But now I'm going to take this symbol and put it in front, and then I'm going to take this 11, put it in front, and make it negative. So I go negative 11 less than or equal to. So now what this does is now I have this compound inequality, and so when it's a less than, it's joined together. And so when I minus 1 now, I have to minus 1 from all 3 sides. And so this gives me negative 12 is less than or equal to 2x is less than or equal to 10. Now I divide by 2. And I get negative 6 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to positive 5. So our goal is to get x by itself, but now our x is going to have to be in the middle. Alright, now you're going to try this one on your own. Absolute value of 4x minus 8 is less than 20.